Many of you probably already know that we as a congregation are privileged to host a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous here in our building every single week. They gather right outside these doors, out in our gathering space for an open meeting. About 20 to 40 people gather here to do something extraordinary. And I have to tell you, I really think these are some of the bravest people I know. Because the model, of course, of AA and other groups in that line is for people to come stand before strangers and share their deepest truth. They do something extraordinary to stand up and say, here's where I have fallen down. Here are my limits. Here's what I cannot do. Now, because it's an open meeting, sometimes when I'm here on a Saturday getting things ready for Sunday, I'm able to listen in a little bit to these stories of that these people have recognized something that they're just a little ahead of the rest of us. They have recognized what they're not able to do, that none of us is as free as we would like to believe. But all of us have powers that are stronger than us, that are controlling our lives. What they have recognized, these brave men and women in AA and my friends who go through it and things like that, is what Paul talked about today. Did you notice how Paul put it here in his letter to Rome? He said, I do not understand my own actions, for I do not do what I want, but I do the very thing I hate. Now, everybody in AA knows exactly what Paul is talking about. Everybody that's ever felt that draw and hold of addiction knows exactly what Paul means. That none of us is as free as we like to think we are. And there is no amount of effort or gritted teeth or American ingenuity or pulling on our bootstraps that's going to change that. None of us is as free as we would like to believe that we are. Now, for folks in AA or NA or things like that, they've come to realize and they've come to name that addiction, but addiction is a tricky thing. Addiction, because it's a manifestation of evil, and evil always hides itself. It masquerades and slips away. Addiction shows up in our world in other ways, and sometimes even in things that we admire, like hard work. That can be an addiction. It's one that I've noticed more and more lately. Have you noticed when you run into people at the store or on the street and you ask them, how are you? Provided you don't get the knee-jerk reaction, I'm fine, how are you? Provided you get a real response, how often you will hear the answer, I'm busy. And they say it with sort of their shoulders squared. I'm busy. No, I'm very, very busy. It becomes something we're proud of. Almost like we're in competitive busyness. This is the shape of the world. I'm busy. How was your Saturday? Oh, busy. How was your vacation? Oh, it was busy. Even hard work, something that's at the core of who we think of as ourselves, even that can get its claws into us, can't it? Or things that can be deeply admired in our society, parenting and grandparenting. In 2005, there was an essay that appeared in the New York Times where an author wrote and said, she has 4 kids. She said, I love my kids, but I am not in love with my kids. She said, I love my husband more than my kids. Oprah invited her to come on her show. And so on TV, she had a chance to say that. I love my kids. I'm not in love with my kids. I love my husband more than my kids. She said after that appearance on TV, she received threats from strangers threatening physical harm to her, and people who know nothing about her threatening to call Child Protective Services. Now, think about how that reaction plays out. That's what we do to heretics, not what we do to people we disagree with. Even parenting and grandparenting, what I'm decided to call competitive Pinterest parenting, can get its claws into us, right? Now, 10 years later, she came back on the Oprah show, and she was interviewed, and Oprah asked her, so how have things been? And she told these stories. And she said, but here's the thing, 10 years on, I absolutely stand by what I said, because I've watched how my kids' confidence in their parents' relationship has helped them to grow. But think about the reactions, and think about what that says about our society. Even things that we admire can get their claws into us, right? Now, I recognize not all of us are in that situation. Not all of us are parents or grandparents, or that's not the way that God has called it. But if you go through your day and you think about the things that take up your time and how you spend your time, I am positive you will find some claws. Some things that have more sway over you than maybe you would like to admit. Some things that maybe take more of your time than you realize. And while you may think that you can quit any time, the reality is claws get in. Because that is human nature. Think about what Paul said. Paul said, everybody serves something. None of us is as free as we would like to believe. A friend was preaching his way through this chapter of Romans and talking about how things that get their claws into us and can control us. And he talked about the fact that all of us serve something, that none of us is as free as we like to think, and that there is no amount of hard work that's going to get those claws out of us. He said on the way out, somebody grabbed his sleeve. I said, wait a second, Pastor. Are you telling me that we are so in bondage that we don't even know we're in bondage? And he said, exactly. That's what Paul said. Did you hear those words? Let me read them again for you. Make sure I get them right. Listen to what he said. I can will what is right, but I cannot do it. When I want to do good, evil is close at hand. With my mind, I'm a slave to the law of God. With my flesh, my body, I am a slave to the law of sin. Paul says, none of us is free. All of us serve something. You gotta serve someone. And think about it. This is true for all of us, even for the richest person on the planet. Even he or she is just as trapped and has just as many claws, at the very least because they live in a world where there are still sweatshops and still people who are basically slaves producing the goods that we live by. None of us is free from that, not even that person. Every one of us has claws in us. You gotta serve something. And all of us do. All of us are prisoners of something. Which is exactly why I am a Christian. And in particular, exactly why I am a Lutheran-flavored Christian, particularly because all Lutheran and Christianity helps us recognize what we are not. None of us is free. All of us are slaves to something. And Christianity, and Lutheran-flavored Christianity in particular, offers us something that we cannot find anywhere else. And I am a Christian because I get tired. I cannot handle one more thing that I ought to do to be a better person. I cannot take one more thing on my to-do list that I'm supposed to do to become a better activated or actualized person, a better person. I cannot handle one more shelf in the self-help section of the bookstore because I know better. I know better than that. That there is no amount of grit, ingenuity, hard work, bearing down, gritting my teeth, pulling by my bootstraps. I have boots. I've pulled those straps. I throw out my back. I don't get any higher. There's no amount of hard work that's going to get me closer to what God sees in me. And I just get tired. Do you ever feel that way too? Do you ever feel like you just can't do it? That no matter what is set before you and how many wonderful options there are, you know in the pit of your stomach that it's not going to get you to who you want to be? That when you want to do good, that evil lies close at hand? Do you ever get tired? I do. And I decided that if I'm going to be a prisoner of something, I choose to be a prisoner of hope. That's what Zechariah called it, to be prisoners of hope. Because what Jesus offers in the Christian life, and in particular the Lutheran life offers, is not a to-do list. And it's not one more thing that you ought to do to become a better person, no amount of steps or anything like that. What Jesus offers is an invitation and a relationship. He says, come to me. He says, take my yoke. It's one of those doubles. And there you will find rest. It is easy and light. And the human part of us says, wait a second, say what? You call this light, Jesus, and easy? The whole, being betrayed by a friend, arrested, beaten up, you hung on a cross, you died, saved the world, you call that easy? And Jesus says, yes, because that's his work. And he's already taken care of. He says, come and let me join your life. Take my yoke upon you so that I can live your life with you and show you how to live as the child of God you're meant to be. That's what that word means, to live as the way you're meant. It is an invitation for Jesus to walk with you through your life. It is that relationship that at the end of this gospel, Jesus says, for behold, I am with you always. That's why I'm a Christian. Because I need that kind of relationship. That's why I follow Jesus. Because I have found in him a life I can't find anywhere else. That's why I'm Christian. Because I just get tired. Do you ever feel that way too? Do you ever get tired of trying to make it on your own? In just a minute, you're going to come up here to the altar. And you're going to kneel here. And all it might take is simply to say, come, Lord Jesus. Come, Lord Jesus. Come, Lord Jesus.